All right, welcome to Semper Sometimes with Benny. So today I've got my man Gil, Coach Gil is what he calls himself, and people call him who know him. And he's this is actually our first time ever meeting via Zoom. Never met each other in person. He's just somebody I met, through a friend who's not even a friend. He's just like another podcast friend that I've made in the past month. So it's really crazy, man. In the past month, I've met a lot of people due to this podcast, which is one of the many reasons why I started the podcast. But just to get to the point, I wanted to have you on, just because I heard about you from Benny, and then he talked about you, and then I followed you. You followed me on Instagram, and I was kind of looking at what you were doing, and then I listened to your podcast where you had your first episode, and I definitely resonated a lot with what you were talking about. So I wanted you to kind of just come on and just kind of talk about some different stuff. So please just kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, how who is Coach Gil.
Yeah, so my name's Gilbert Rios. Gil kind of came from that actually just started probably just recently when I started my business. No one really called me Gil, because I'm one of three, and Gil is actually kind of like people who call my grandpa, which is kind of weird because like I said, I grew up with pretty much this little Gilbert. And Gil, I don't know, someone just called me Gil, and then someone at work called me Gil, in this new unit that I'm in, and then it just started like thriving. I guess this Gil started going everywhere, and I was like, all right, I'll take Gil. Gil's fine with me. But yeah, so it's pretty much like I said, I saw what you were doing. I liked it. You being like a Marine veteran or
So I'm still in. I am a combat veteran of Afghanistan, and I'm still currently in the reserve program right now. So I am still in, but I guess you're still a veteran even though you're in. It's that weird like conundrum that people are in.
yeah, yeah. No, but I appreciate you having me on. Like I said, anything that kind of be on like you kind of understand just that whole Marine Corps mentality and whatnot. So as we get into this conversation, you're going to understand a lot of what I'm saying
Mhm.
that a lot of other people what kind of like won't understand. So it's kind of nice to be able to speak with someone that's going to kind of have that same mentality. Just like how when I
Yeah.
talk with Benny, the other Benny, that our friend, that's kind of how you explained it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just works out well. And the podcast kind of just started out of nowhere because I actually been wanting to. My business has been started since about a year and a half ago, and I've been wanting to start the podcast for a while now. And it actually got started because of Benny, because he posted his sober talk, and I'm like, all right, if Benny could do it, I could do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I was like, hey Benny, like, how did you do that? Like the whole, I guess it's pretty much just the start of it, like the setup and like
Yeah.
what do you do and all that stuff. He's like, dude, I just downloaded Anchor and started talking in it. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do that then.
Yeah.
And there's pretty much no excuse, like either you do it or you don't.
Yeah.
And I guess my thing, like on my first episode, I talk about how I guess how nervous I was to kind of get on, and like with you, it's easier to talk with because I get to see you,
Yeah.
But I guess like doing the episodes by myself alone, where I'm just talking into like a camera and I'm just staring
Yeah.
at this camera. I'm just like I'm not really talking with no one. So like with you, I could talk with you. And like I said, like doing like I am in law enforcement right now, and so like doing that and doing different tasks I do is not really like as nerve wracking, I guess. But for some reason, talking to a camera, you kind of get into that mode where you're like, oh shit, like, am
People
I
are
gonna,
watching
yeah, am I gonna keep this
me.
conversation going like alone,
Yeah.
And in reality, I kind of get to the point, like, I guess like the more I do it, just the more I'm not gonna care. And I kind of, and that's what I kind of told myself, like, this, it's gonna suck. Just do it. Like your episodes might suck. Just do it. Like someone's gonna get something out of it. And it's pretty cool because as I've been doing it, like I said, I did my third one last night to put out my third episode, and I was like, people were actually telling me like what you just told me. Like when we first got on, I was like, oh shit, okay, it makes sense. And then I had a few other people actually comment and message me, and I was like, they resonated with what I was talking about, or they got to know more about like what I was talking about as far as my business wise, or like even how I started the whole company, whatever. And I was like, oh, I guess people do actually want to listen and they do actually care. So like that's pretty cool. And like I said, like the third time I did it, I was like, you could tell it's just a little bit more, not as much of an issue, just talking to the camera. I was actually excited to come up and do it. And I bought this little stand thing and this mic, and I was like, all right, cool. want to buy shit, might as well just use it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the Revain training actually came a year and a half ago. The way it kind of got started was, uh, so the way it kind of got started was, it always gets kind of like, I guess explaining the stories kind of gets pretty difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to kind of go back before that, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I did 4 years in comm, and got out, and I was actually kind of in this like limbo area where I did not really know what I wanted to do, you know, and it kind of came up pretty fast. And like 4 years went by extremely fast, and I actually was not planning on getting out. And it actually was pretty much like not a mistake, but like it was my dumbass mistake. We were out in deployment in Afghanistan back in 2013. And I remember my gunny telling me, because like right when we got back, I was supposed to be getting out like 4 months later. And so you're supposed to talk to the career planner or whatnot. But our career planner at the time before we left, she was like leaving and get another career planner. And so pretty much, I guess she never contacted or reached out to me, knowing that, because I guess like when you're like 6 months out or whatever, or a certain time frame, they come reach out to you like, hey, what are you going to do with your life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to stay in? You're going to get out? Well, she pretty much just said like, fuck it, I don't give a shit about these people. I'm not going to contact them.
Yeah.
And my dumb ass, I didn't really know how it worked. I didn't bother to even care. I thought it just like, they ask you and you just like re-enlist, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up getting deployed. And my gunny is like, hey, Rios, you gonna re-enlist? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna re-enlist, all excited. He's like, oh, cool. Like, you talked to a career planner or whatnot? I'm like, no. And he's like, wait, what do you mean you talked to a career planner? I'm like, no, I just thought when I just get back, I just like sign a paper and I'm just like good to go. He's like, no, dumbass. Like, all right, let me make some calls back to home. And he called some people back home on that moment, and they're pretty much like, yeah, Rios has no job. Like, he's out. Like, there's no more spots for 06 12s. Like, all those boat spaces are taken for the fiscal year of next year. And like pretty much I'm like jobless. And I'm like, he's like, fuck. And I'm like, fuck. Well, I wanted to stay in. Well, I guess that's not gonna happen now. And he's like, well, we could do some things. We could either do you could change MOSs, or we could put in a package and see, just based off how good of a Marine you are. They have like this like not this program, but like pretty much it goes based off all your like how you do as a Marine, how you've been as a Marine. And then if like your CO signs off, and then like the general of the base, like the main head guy signs off, then like you're good to go. You get to keep, they'll like make a spot for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a pretty good Marine. I was meritoriously promoted twice, expert rifle, expert pistol, black belt. And my ratings in like my field were like where I was like top 10% of the Marine Corps. And then I was number one out of comm school. So that's pretty good. Like everything I did, all my marks were always great. And so I did that whole process. I got like the CO to sign it, and then like the base general to sign it and like that. And they all signed off, and they're pretty much like, cool, like you got a job. And I'm like, awesome. And that I ended up getting back home. And the funny thing was, I went home on leave, and my wife right now, who was my girlfriend at the time, I spent like 2 weeks with her, and just being back home and just seeing everything. Cause I was on the East Coast, and then just being home. It was funny. Like when I got back from leave, I was like, yeah, I'm not going back. So I ended up just getting out of the Marine Corps. And yeah, it worked out pretty well. Like I said, we're married now, and like we did, I mean, we were separated for so long being over there, but it all worked out. Like I said, I was doing school, making that BH money, and then kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I ended up meeting like this is kind of where I figured out like that Marine Corps love, where like you don't really have to know that person, just the fact that they're a Marine, you're going to take care of them and like kind of like guide them, you know. And I've always heard about it, but actually being out, I kind of ran into that, and I kind of got to, I guess, experience that for the first time, like that there is people who, other Marines, are always just going to just be there for you regardless of, they don't even know who you are. And that's what it was. I was in school, and there's this guy, his name's Thomas, and we were both in college, and in class, there's pretty much majority of Marines in this one class. Or not Marines, it was pretty much like veterans, so like Air Force guys, Army guys, Navy guys. And there's only two Marines, me and him. And he ended up finding out that I was a Marine, And I mean, if I find out that we're both the only two Marines in there, so he kind of like hit me up like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, I'm Thomas. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And then we kind of talked, and he had told me that he was a deputy at a county that was nearby, and I was like, "Cool." And I remember him telling me like, "So what are you gonna do? Like, what's your plans?" And like, now that you're out, because he knew I just got out just recently, and I was like, I don't know. So trying to figure it out. And I was like looking at being like a CO and this being like this other comm stuff I was looking at. And he's like, "Why don't you come on a ride along?" And I was like, "Nah, to be honest, I really don't, never really cared to want to be a cop. Never really had like I guess like a thing to be a cop. Like when I was like little, like in elementary school, like, just, oh, yeah, I want to be a cop or a fireman and whatnot. But
Yeah, like any
as I got,
kid.
yeah, like as I got older, I was like, nah, like I do not want to do that job whatsoever. Um, and he's like, "Just come and ride along with me. It's like you'll see just how things are different on the other side." And I did, man. I went on a ride along like that week, and just being with him, like he said, like I said, like he was a Marine too, so he had that same mentality. And that night it was a crazy night. Like it's filled with a bunch of like craziness and crazy people and just the job. And I pretty much hit like, I guess like I hit like the perfect day, because we were pretty much like it was like a pursuit, and it's like different combatives like that. And I was like, "Where do I sign up?" And he's like, "Yeah, just do this, man. You go to the academy." And but he was pretty much explaining like this, like how my department works. Is this every department's different, and
Mhm.
every like, I guess every department has their own kind of like culture, I guess you
Yeah.
could say.
Yeah.
And so he's like, where I work is just going to be different. So kind of understand that like when you get into this, like it's not as big as other departments and not as small neither, and kind of everyone kind of knows each other, but it's just big enough to be a little bit bigger. And I was like, all right. But yeah, I went to the police academy, ended up being like a class leader there, and I ran that academy as like a squad leader and being a class leader. Did that, enjoyed it, and then ended up getting. There's only one spot open for that county that my friend was in, and ended up getting that spot. Ended up winning that spot and got that one job. And then it was funny because he'd always check on me all the time too, like, "Hey, this is what you gotta do." And like throughout the academy, I was going on ride alongs with him like every other week. I was going to ride along with him, like, "Hey, I want to go with you." And it's funny now that I work for the same department, there's like a policy for ride-alongs, and it's like twice a year only. So he was taking me on like every other week. And it's supposed to be like 4 hours, like 4 to 6 hours for like a ride along. I was going for like 10, 12 hours, like a whole shift pretty much.
Oh
So
wow.
now, so I realized how much he was willing to be like, "Hey, he's cool. Like he's a Marine. I know him. I go to school with him. Like he really wants to do this. Like he would be good." And so pretty much all the sergeants were just like, "All right, yeah, that's fine." And pretty much they practically knew me. Like the guys working there, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's just Gilbert," Like I was
Yeah.
no longer a ride along really. And yeah, so I ended up getting the job, and he at that time he ended up becoming a field training officer, an FTO, and I was his first trainee. And so it was pretty cool to be mentored by him, because like I said, like it was kind of like him getting me where I was at my, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and kind of like guiding me, mentoring me, and then mentoring me through the academy. And then ended up being my first actual official mentor in like the force. And it was cool because yeah, I mean, like this, he was my hardest. There's three FTOs, and he was my hardest FTO, as far as like grading and everything like that. And even though like at that point we are already good friends, and even though we were good friends, he was still all about like business, like because I guess, like he always told me like, "I expect you to do better than everybody else when they first start, because you are a Marine." And yeah, man, so ended up doing that, learned so much from him, and ended up working under him. I was pretty much like, he was my senior. And then I never SWAT teams in the we had some spots open on the SWAT team. And then so I was like 2 years later at that point. And then I obviously every kind of guy or kid wants to do SWAT as they grow up, And I kind of want to, me being a Marine, I'm all about that time. Like you got to put your time in, and put your time in. And so I didn't put it in whatsoever, but then I ended up hearing that he had put my name on the table when they brought up like, who should we put? And I'm like, shit, all right, well, I don't want to be that guy, but I guess I'm not gonna let him down. If he wants me, if he put my name down on the table, then
Yeah.
forget it. Let's do it. And then one of his mentors, like his FTO, who was a lot older at the time, Taylor, I guess he had told me that He's like, I put your name down too. Like Olson trusts you, then I trust you. I'm like, okay, cool. So I took the test, passed the test, and then got on the team and worked with him. And yeah, it was a good time, man. And like I said, got to work with him, got to be on the teams with him. And then just back in October 2019, he ended up committing suicide.
Oh
And so
shit.
that was kind of like I guess like like I said, like me being a Marine, like I was in comms, so I didn't really have like I guess like losing like a brother, you know.
Mhm.
Like we had a lost like a sergeant like in the same unit but another company, but I didn't really like lose someone in like my company, you know. And so that was kind of like my closest. I never really had like I guess like the person really close to me like to lose like that, like a mentor and a good friend.
Mhm.
And it hurt, man. Like I guess like I was pretty affected by it, and end up just leaving the team, and I don't know, I just didn't want to do it no more. And I guess I was kind of just like at that point where I was like what am I doing like with myself, you know? Because at that point I was mainly just doing like a lot of SWAT stuff, and I was like a lot smaller in structure because I started focusing more on being functional and not as 'cause I came from like a bodybuilding background.
Yeah.
When he met me, I was competing, and
Mhm.
so I had changed my whole lifestyle to do that. And obviously I enjoyed doing SWAT, but it just wasn't really like me as far as fitness wise. And so once he was gone, it was just like I'm over here still on the team doing the thing, but it's not because I needed an outlet to be happy, and
Mhm.
I didn't have that outlet because I was still working out has always been my outlet. Like bodybuilding has always been my outlet since I was 14 to like make me happy, you know. And it
Yeah.
was like the one place I could be to kind of like mentally just be okay. And so like doing more functional stuff, I wasn't that outlet wasn't really there. So I was doing my
Mhm.
thing and still like being fit, still being working out, but I wasn't having no outlet. And so I had to sit back and be like, all right, nothing's changing. Like I would go work out and I would cry in the middle of the workout. And I was like, all right, this needs like we need to figure something out to kind of like get that outlet back. So I went full on, like literally back to myself. Like the person that he had met was that person I went back to. And so pretty much like I got off the team, um, ended up starting coaching coaching again, like bodybuild like athletes and just regular clients as well. But then I even told myself because at that time 2020 came around, I was like, well, I'm going to compete then because like that makes me happy. I'm just going to just throw myself and immerse myself into a show like with
Yeah.
no baseline. Like I wasn't as big as anymore, but I was just let's just do it because that's what's just going to make me mentally just able to kind of get over this. And so yeah, so I started prepping for a show like back in like January 2020, and then COVID hit,
Mm.
and so then all the shows were kind of getting canceled, and I was like, fuck, all right. And so but I said like I still wanted to get that goal done, even though I set myself to do it, and I told myself I was going to do it. And every day I thought about him, and I was like, well, next year we're going to do it. So I just waited patiently, did the business, ran the business as well as I've been doing, and it's been getting like bigger and bigger. And back in June of this year, was it June? Yeah, it was June. And then doing the show that I wanted and competed and got that done with, and showed everyone that hey, like I have my business, I'm in the field that I'm in, and I have like my kid and I have like my wife, and I still made it happen, you know. So and I can still show people like, hey, I can still do it. So whatever
Mhm.
I'm telling you, like I'm not just saying it from 6 years ago when I used to do it. I'm telling you as of right now, I still made it happen. And so kind
Yeah.
of, I guess it was kind of like motivate. Like I said, it made me happy mentally, but also was able to motivate my clients and my athletes to do whatever they need to do. You know, and this
Mm.
podcast, I love it now that I started because like I could kind of explain like my teachings or like my principles or kind of like what I'm thinking about certain topics and kind of like get to them without having to call every single one of them, explain that one
Mhm.
topic to them, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just love this thing and like, it's great. So that's pretty much how it got started, man. And just, yeah. Uh,
No doubt, man. I appreciate that story. It's and that's the huge reason why I started my podcast was to hear stories like yourself, because talking about things instead of keeping them bottled up helps us. And also there's people that are going through the same thing that you're going through, or maybe they'll find themselves in that season. So learning about different ways that you've been able to cope through it, learning about just your story, and also it also just helps you yourself, when your business is thriving, or when you're trying to get your business to thrive. A lot of people want to know, okay, well, why should I go with you? Why should I have you as my coach? And when you tell your story and you're real about it and you're genuine, people now want to work with you because they connect with your story. You're not just somebody out there selling this dream. You're talking about the reality of who you've been and who you are currently. So it's good to hear that. So I guess one of my questions really would be just, how do you maintain that? How do you work a full-time job being a police officer while having a child, while prepping for a bodybuilding competition? Like how do you put all that into one day? Like, does your schedule stay the same every day? Do you how do you do that? And then what, if you don't mind me asking, like, what kind of diet do you follow right now?
So as far as the diet goes, I follow a diet that kind of like I can sustain long term.
Oh,
And what I've
actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you this question, and I'm already asking it, but I forgot. So I think, if I remember correctly, on your episode, you said that you've kind of had the same diet since you were like 14 years old. Was that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to
Yes.
ask you about that, because I'm the type of person that I am, is that's what I want. I want to do something that's a lifelong thing, not something that I'm gonna just do for like a month or 3 weeks and then all of a sudden I fall back on it. Like, I want, like, that's what I'm looking for. It's just like a lifelong thing that's just a lifelong habit. So like, what is it that you yourself have followed? Like, what do you do?
So this is what I've learned that I love. And so when I was 14, 15, kind of like growing, I kind of figured out like, what is this? At that time, I was mostly like kind of thinking like a bro, as far as bodybuilding senses, but it just got used to enjoying, not used to it, but like I enjoy like red meat, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't mind chicken. Chicken gets really old in prep, I guess you could say, but in
Yeah.
the off season, no, because you could like I said, I guess I could explain it better if I just kind of explain it. So with like my meal one, right? I always have eggs, and I love eggs, whole eggs too. I like eat 2 or 3 whole eggs with egg whites. And then like the other proteins I'll have, like next meal will be a chicken. And I have red meat every single day. And so there's always like an egg meal, a chicken meal, a beef meal, and there's always like a protein shake meal for like when I post workout, or even if I'm not working out, I'll make some kind of like a cake out of it, or make just like a regular shake out, just depending on how I'm feeling. And then my last meal, I'll either have another beef meal or I'll have another egg meal. I just love eggs. Yes, but like I said, like that's something that I like. If you ask my wife, she would rather only eat eggs once a day just to get the kind of the healthy fats from the whole yolk, but that's about it. So you just got to kind of find like what do you enjoy, and the different things I make with it is super basic and simple, and it's something that I could make every single week and not have a problem with as far as like technique of the cooking or this. I just make it really simplistic, but I also enjoy it. Regardless if it has like the seasonings or the sauces I want, then we're gonna be good. But like I said, I just have that same concept and like keep my carbs minimal because like I said, it's what people usually have a hard time when they start, especially with busy schedules. As far as like it's like mostly cooking, and like they say, I don't have time. Well, if you make it more simple and just cook it better, you're gonna enjoy it. Because like my with my eggs, I have potatoes through an air fryer. I used to just make them on the pan back in the day, which took a lot longer. And but the air fryer's been awesome. And then I'll have like bacon or ham with it. And I've been having eggs and ham since I was like 6. You know what I mean? So I've always loved it. And what's wrong with a piece of ham? It's literally like 1 gram of fat and like 5 grams of protein in that little sliced ham. And I'm not having like people say, well, it's like packaged ham, and it's like, so I'm eating one of it once a day. You know what I mean? I'm not eating 10 slices of it. And like the bacon too, the bacon's 5 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein. I'm eating one slice a day. I'm not eating. The people where they make a mistake is like they go to these diners, which is made with a bunch of butter, and they always serve you 3 bacons minimum, right? I'm only having one bacon. Like, we're gonna be fine here. Don't worry. Like, no one has to get all crazy about it. And like I did half my prep was with bacon, the first half of it, just to kind of show people like, hey, it all comes back to this calories in, calories out. You just gotta figure out what are you gonna enjoy. And then white rice, I don't mind. Like I said, with chicken, you can just throw on some teriyaki sauce, which I'll do, or I'll do like barbecue sauce. You don't have to drown it in it. You just do a little bit of it. And
Mhm.
but even then, like, I just throw some sweet peas in there, and I can just have just chicken and sweet peas and rice. And I said I love it, and that's fine with me. It's like I have that every single day, and I just be consistent with it, man. And the thing that I guess the part of it that makes it such a long-term thing, so it doesn't get boring for me, is that every single day I get to have whatever I want. I can have like one thing or whatever I want. So whether that's going to be like a cupcake, whether it's going to be like a few cookies, whether that's going to be like an actual meal, I could have it, and I allow myself to have it. It's kind of like an 80-20 rule with me. Um, and then every week I have like family night, and on family night I'll do all my meals, and then whatever that dinner is with the family, or if it's going to be brunch or whatever it is, I just enjoy whatever wherever we go out to. And then like I said, so if I get to enjoy whatever I want every single day with a structured plan, like a baseline plan, and then on the
Yeah.
week, on that one family night day, I eat my structured plan, that baseline, and then have whatever I want to again, then you're gonna be able to do that long term, like this forever. Like I said, for me, I just am able to do it long term because, like I said, every single meal is a meal that I enjoy. And then so like I'm not gonna eat something I'm not gonna enjoy. Like
Mhm.
broccoli, I haven't had broccoli like in 5 years, 6 years. I fucking hate it. And I used to do it back in my other preps because I thought you had to. And I was just much younger, not as knowledgeable, and I was like, fucking hate it. I didn't even have it this prep unless it was in like one of the unleash meals. I would eat it, but other than that, like, no, I won't buy it, nothing. Uh, so it just comes down to like, it's got to enjoy. It's all just comes back into, if you want to just do moderation. But like, my biggest thing is having like a baseline diet of meals you enjoy, and at least like 4 or 5 meals a day with high protein. And then from there, you just kind of just pick, kind of like, do I want to like incorporate a cupcake in there? If I want to incorporate whatever you kind of like craving, you just incorporate it in there. As long as your training applies to it and your cardio you do every single day kind of like goes with your plan. And if it works and you still look good at the end of the week or the month or 2 months or 3 months, and everything's kind of working out and you're making progress, then you're good.
Mhm.
That comes back into goal setting too. If my goal is to prep and compete, there's going to be some sacrifice in there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So obviously I might have to take out, like, I might not be able to eat every single thing I want every single day. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that one little thing, that one treat or whatever. But that comes with, that's my goal. That's kind of like, I'm choosing to diet for a show,
Yeah.
or I'm choosing to bulk.
So
Whatever.
how much cardio do you do? Do you do cardio every day? Do you run? Do you bike? Like what does your cardio look like?
So right now I do cardio like at least 5 times a week, and I'll just do 20 minutes in the morning. I'm just fasted on the treadmill, this walk, nice little stroll. And I love it because I do this cardio, wake up, I knock out this cardio on the treadmill in the garage, and it just wakes you up because it just wakes you up. Like, obviously you're getting your blood flowing. You taking like I always take like little fat burner, like a half serving of fat burner or something like that, and then I just get my day just gets started. I'm thinking better, feel better, just, and obviously you're able to eat more because it kind of stimulates appetite, and then you just feel great. And then I just love it, man. Even though I finished prep, I'm still want to do it. And 20 minutes ain't shit. Like, you literally
Yeah.
waste 20 minutes on your cell phone, and you just, that shit goes by fast.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll do. I'll get on my phone. I'll just start talking. I'll reply back to with clients. I'll reply back to people out. DM me on Instagram. I'll
Mhm.
do work. I'll have like, I could pull up all my clients' plans on my phone. I literally do whatever, just 20 minutes. And it's a nice stroll. You know what I mean? So why not get a good sweat on and then be good and it's productive?
Mhm.
So
So so as far as your job, do you focus your physical activity at all around your job or no?
So yes, when I was prepping, no, just because that's when I'm with that kind of goal, me being like a bodybuilder, I understand that there's some things I'm not gonna be able to, I guess, accommodate my career, but it's still kind of working out. So it's still I'm obviously gonna feel good if I have to put like on a vest or something like that. But now that I finished prep, I do kind of keep a similar split that I used to have when I was in the Marine Corps. So what I do now, which I've been doing since 2010, was like a push pull legs bodybuilding style split, and then once or twice a week I'll do some kind of like CrossFit, and so that kind of keeps me. I get to look good and feel good, and that have that outlet, that bodybuilding outlet to go to on those 3 days, and then that 1 or 2 days I just gotta like do those CrossFit days.
Yeah.
It's gonna make me that much better. If I have to put a vest on or hold a rifle or whatnot, then I just feel that much better with it.
Yeah.
But I know that the way I split that these last practically 10 years now. The way I split that, everything just worked out. Everything's just been working out great doing that.
So you do push pull legs, and then you said you do a couple of CrossFit workouts.
Yeah, push pull legs. I'll have an off day to kind of separate the two, and then I'll do I'll do like a warm up. I'll do a WOD, and I'll do some kind of like a compound movement, like a deadlift or like a squat, and then the next day I'll do the same thing again. And there's WODs I love. There's some like hero workouts that I've always loved since the Marine Corps. And I kind of got into it because of the Marines. Like you find a lot of CrossFit guys, like my staff sergeants like that. And they're like, I used to knock it all the time, being like an 18, 19-year-old bodybuilder wanting to compete. And I was like, but then I finally did. And I was like, all right, this is pretty fun. I got really good at it too. And yeah, there's some WODs I really, really love. And I just pretty much just do them over and over. If I find a WOD that I like, I'll just try it out again.
Yeah.
But it always keeps me, I guess, functional, I guess you could say. And I just
That's like the that's the problem that I have right now in my physical fitness life, is that like I want to get big. I want to freaking be able to bench a certain amount. I want to be able to freaking throw weight up. But then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, I also want to be able to have a good CFT and a good PFT and be functional. So it's like my problem is like I don't know the happy medium, you know. So now like what you're doing, I'm like, okay, maybe I should just do that. Like I don't even know. Like I've never, and that's my biggest problem. And I've never had a gym. I've never had a routine that I've kept. I've just always done random shit. I've never actually had a full-on gym routine that I stick to for a certain amount of time. But so what here's a question for you. Being a police officer, do you believe that the 4 years you did in the Marine Corps set you apart? Do you believe that that helped you tremendously, or did it hurt you? Like what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. I'm actually well, I'm a deputy. Could you keep
Oh,
uh
sorry.
no,
What's
you're
the
good, man.
difference? What's the
So
difference?
I work in the county. I work the county. So like they're not, I mean, they're both cops. The difference is really nothing. It's kind of like you'll understand this, like being called like a Marine, like a soldier, like a you know, if like let's say if someone called you a soldier, you'd be like,
Yeah,
no, I'm a
yeah,
Marine. It's kind of the
yeah.
same thing. Like
Okay.
deputies like that Marine of like law enforcement. Like I'm not a cop. I'm not a police officer. I'm a deputy. And it's like, cause
Okay.
like it's just different. So think of like that cowboy mentality, like you're out there and most deputies are their backups like 15, 20 minutes away.
Oh
And
shit.
then most police officers backups like around the corner or like a
Yeah.
minute or 2 minutes away. So the way you talk and the way you conduct your job is completely different the way an officer does it. And I've
Mm.
always liked it because it's more of like people always love, like where I work, people always love the way we operate. And they're always like, you guys are really cool. You guys are like, just talk to us like people. And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, like, well, shit, I'm out by myself, you know? But that's just like, it's this whole respect thing. It's not so much as far as like there's not like, if it's like an adult or something like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, sir, whatever, not like an older adult, you know. But for the most part, it's just like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's going on? This is what happened, blah blah blah. Like, you're fine, you know what I mean? And everything always works out well. But it's just like that, dude. I just love that mentality. That's the reason why I wanted to work there, was because that mentality. Like like I said, when Thomas told me, it's just like he's like, dude, if like he's like, you're gonna see, watch, you're a Marine, you're gonna see how we operate, and be like, damn, like it's just that whole Marine Corps mentality again. Like we're better. You know what I mean? And it's just like that rivalry too. You see you see like the local PD, and you're just like, there's this like little mini rivalry there. And just like, we don't get paid as much as you, but hey, like we're much hardcore than you. So
Hmm.
same thing as the Marine Corps. Like we don't get as much budget from as the Army, but
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
much more hardcore. So it kind of, I resonated with it well, and I was like, I love this. I love
That's
it, you
funny.
know.
That's funny.
And so, but yeah. So going back to the question though, because I'm actually I'm actually an RTO at the academy, which is like the DI of
Hmm.
the boot camp, so they call them
Hmm.
RTOs. So I'm the RTO of the academy right now, and I tell my cadets all the time. I always ask them like, "Who's my veterans in here?" And they always like raise their hands. Or some there's not as much Marines as I want, but you could tell the difference in them as well. But they kind of, for the most part, as the talking is what any kind of veteran that kind of goes into law enforcement, that talking is really never an issue um, on the street. I don't really see too many Air Force guys though. They're not really good at talking. Even the active duty ones aren't good. But yeah, man, like it's helped out so much because most of law enforcement is talking and just having respect. And I don't know, it could just be how I was raised as well.
Hmm.
Or but I know that the Marine Corps, I guess, made I was really outgoing from the start, but the Marine Corps made me more of like, I guess, like even though I'm a much more smaller structure, I just have like that presence of like I don't mind talking to you and it's not a problem and you don't really intimidate me. Like
Yeah,
it's
like
just
it just gave you that confidence.
yeah.
It's like today I gotta tell you, I'm in a group chat for my job, and my supervisor was like, yeah, the CEO of the company is coming on Wednesday, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. And then this other person was in the group chat like, is he scary? And I was like, bro, he's just a dude. He's just another human
Exactly.
being. Like, what do we mean? Like, he's who cares? Like, yeah, I'm gonna give him reverence, or I'm gonna be like, hey, what's going on, sir? I'm not gonna be like, yo, bro. But like at the end of the day, he's just another guy. Like, he's not, you know. And that's the thing I think we realize too is, like you said, being in the Marine Corps, like you realize that, bro, he's just another dude. Yeah, I'm gonna say Sergeant Major or Master of Guns or whatever. I'm gonna give him the proper greeting of the day, but at the end of the day, he's just a man behind the uniform. And I think because we deal with, and especially when you become a senior Marine, like when I got off recruiting duty, I was surrounded by majors and lieutenant colonels and the hierarchy of the Marine Corps, that eventually it was like, now I was the way that I was talking to a master gunnery sergeant compared to how I was talking to a master guns 4 years ago was very different. And and especially on recruiting duty, because when you're in the Fleet Marine Corps, or in the reserves, you don't see master guns and you don't talk to master guns as a sergeant. Like there's no need for that. But now on recruiting duty, totally different world. Like I see master guns every day, so it's a very different. And then that kind of helped me as well with that, talking to people who were, beyond where I'm at. But it's just like, hey man, he's just a guy who makes a little bit more money than I do, and he puts his pants on the same way that I do. What would you say the training, like, do you think that the boot camp and your training and being overseas, do you think that helped you a lot with where you're at now?
Most definitely. As far as just like I guess like having that more of a tactical mindset, but just being more, I guess like aware is a good word. Most guys are kind of just like they're not really focused on like everything else that's going on. They're really kind of like focused on just like that thing in front of them. But I guess as being a Marine, I'm thinking of like 100 different things at once, and like also what's surrounding me at once as well, and
Hmm.
just kind of just be more tactful as well. The way I talk is different. The way I act different. The way I approach different situations is going to be different. And when I work with other veterans too, like other Marines as well, because we have quite a bunch in our department, and it's just like you just work well off each other. But that's just like the biggest thing. It's just you could just tell the mindset's just different, and so and I guess it's like I said, it goes back to talking, like because most situations kind of like work well with just good talking and
Yeah.
not taking bullshit too, if that comes
Hmm.
your way. And if bullshit comes my way, it's just like I just send the bullshit back, and like things kind of just stop there, and then they're like, all right, cool, and everyone kind of just listens. And but that's just main this the main thing. Like I'm not gonna get shit on, and I'm not gonna be it just it's just like yeah, man, it's just every I just pride myself in being in Marine so much. Whenever I got the that Eagle Globe and Anchor, like it meant a lot to me, and
Hmm.
I fucking cried.
Yeah.
And when I got my badge, I just got my badge. I was like, all right, give it to me. Like the
Hmm.
police academy was easy to me. Obviously, going from the Marine Corps, you know, number one fighting force, the hardest boot camp amongst the four. And I was like going to police academy. I was like, this is cake. Like this gave my
Yeah.
badge. It didn't really mean
Yeah.
as much. So when I'm out there working, I always pride myself in being the Marine I am. I'm pride myself
Hmm.
more as being like a veteran. And and it just always works out. Like I said, like just his aggressiveness, it's just enough where it needs to be, and that's it. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
you know how Marines are, they're very like, we're like we could be like your best friend. We're very respectful. We're like the funnest people to be around. The jokes that we have are the same way when I'm working with like the civilians out there. Like I could talk with them, laugh with them. And I just don't take any situations as serious, I guess you could say. And everyone else is just taking them like kind of like being more of like a bossy, I guess you could say. I'm just more like chill. I'm just
Hmm.
laughing. I'm just laughing with people I'm pulling over, like just laughing with them and having a good old time, like, all right,
Hmm.
well, whatever. Because I don't take it really too personal. I think nothing's personal. It ain't my, I don't know, just, and Marines are always good people to be around, but then if shit goes bad, we're like the worst people to be around. And like, we're not going to
Yeah.
take shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, it just works out well. Like, we're not going to take your shit, but also like, if nothing's going on, we're all good, then we're all good. Like, everything's going to be a good time, and everything just goes well. Like, it's always hard to explain to my cadets that like, hey, like, you're not here to like, when you come up as a cop, people already think that you're going to be like mean, and
Hmm.
when I was, I guess, when I was a Marine, I got pulled over the times I did. um Most of them were assholes, and it was mostly like highway patrol, but they were assholes. And I was like, so when I became a cop, I was like, I'll make sure that I never act like that unless I have to, like, but back in that situation that I was in, it was mainly just being an asshole because I was a Marine. They're like,
Yeah.
they could tell my haircut and being shaved and being how young I was, like, are you a Marine? I'm like, yeah. Like, what would your CO think about this, you speeding? And I'm like, well, why the fuck does it matter to you? My CO don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Well, he's gonna give a
Yeah.
fuck if you tell him, but
Yeah.
like,
Like, do you know him? Like, you gonna call him tonight?
yeah,
Like, hey, buddy, what's going on?
like,
Like,
who are
what?
you to tell me about, like, I don't, like, you should not give a shit about what I'm like, what I'm
Yeah. Why
doing,
is that your
who I am. Like,
business?
yeah, it
Yeah.
ain't fucking shit.
Just get to the
So
point.
yeah, just give him my ticket or tell me to slow down or whatever you're gonna do. Let me go on my way. And so I told myself, like, because we have a base where I work, we have a base, and I was like, I would never act like that with them. Like, oh, what
Hmm.
do you think of your CEO? Blah blah blah. Like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Like I said, Marines are always, you can always just tell, like, it's the way they talk. They're always like the coolest guys you could speak with, even in a professional manner, in that kind of like capacity. But
Yeah.
then if you like give them shit or fuck with them, they're going to be the worst guys to deal with. So I
Hmm.
just always love that mentality, and it's just like, it's always, dude, it just works really well. It works great. And like I said, I say most of it comes from the Marine Corps. But like I said, it could come back down to how I was raised as well, because I have
Yeah.
just like my dad was pretty good at giving me the whole respect thing, how to talk to people. I was telling people sir and ma'am since I was like a little boy. And then like, I have like cousins and uncles who kind of like were grown up in more of like the gang side of things, but they kind of, even though it was that way, it gave me the respect of how to talk to
Mm.
people as well. So when I talk to
Yeah.
people out there, it's not, I'm not giving them shit because of what they do or whatever they claim or whatever. It's just another person to me,
Yeah.
unless you give me shit and then ring comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it
And
comes back
it,
to that.
and it's good to, and it's, something really random, but like even now, like I'm a father, I have a 3 year old and I have a 1 year old, and my son is like, he's very, very polite. He says, yes, please, thank you, you're welcome, sir, ma'am. Like, and he's only 3.5. And I had a friend of mine whose parent, one of my very close friends, I've known him for about 22 years. His dad met my son and he was like, wow, your son's so behaved. And I was like, it's not rocket science, bro. You say thank you to them and they learn to say thank you to you. And like I say, you're welcome to my son, and he says you're welcome to me. And and it's not a hard concept. But it's so weird because it's a lost concept. A lot of people don't just do it anymore. You walk by the store and you open a door for somebody and they just like, I'm the type of dude, and you're talking about this, like the whole Marine thing, bro. If I open the door for you and you don't say thank you, I'm gonna turn around and be like, "Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I opened the door for you, just so you know, so we're aware. I opened the door for you, and I'm that guy. Like if you walk by me and I open the door for you or whatever, I'm gonna say, "Oh, you're welcome. You're good." Like just because it's like, bro, have the fucking respect to just say thank you. Like don't be a fucking cuck. And and that's something that like, I noticed like because it happens all the time, man. And I remember like you're talking about how you grew up, and I remember when I was younger, I would stay the summers in Vermont with my grandparents, and and at the time of my age, I didn't think there's anything wrong with it. But like how like if right now I'm standing in front of like I'm in the aisle and I'm staring and at the groceries and I'm looking at like something on the shelf, right? And
Yeah.
say someone just walks in front of me, right? I grew up in Brooklyn. People do it all the time. So I would walk in front of somebody and my grandmother would snatch me up and she'd be like, turn around right now and say, excuse me. And I'd be like, why? And she's like, because you just walked through their view and just literally just got in between what they were doing and you just interrupted, whatever that moment. And at the time I was like, okay. And now I've realized it because like now when people do that to me, I'm like, you couldn't say excuse me, like you couldn't just say pardon me or something. And it's and like you're saying, it's just a simple thing that like if people were to use that, things would just be so different. But if you come to the situation as an asshole, or you come to the situation in it immediately being that person, like, hey man, license registration, and then why are you speeding? Or it's like that, and I always wondered this. Maybe you can tell me. I mean, do they teach you this in the academy? Like when you get pulled over by a cop, what does he always say? Do you know why I pulled you over? Like, yeah, mother flipper. Like, yeah, of course. And I was speeding, bro. Do you want me to tell you? Yeah, I was speeding. Like, is it like, or like, am I? And at me, of course, I'm just like, no, I have no idea. I'm no clue, bro. Like, no,
So they
why?
actually don't teach like there's no like obviously like a line to say,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you kind of like make up yours as you go. And I guess you just learn like whatever kind of, because it's gonna be something you're gonna say every single time.
Hmm.
So it's kind of just like whatever you adopt. And I guess whatever I adopted was just like, hey, what's up? How's it going? It's super
Yeah.
hey, what's up? How's it going? I just pulled you over because like you're speeding. Like, where are you going to? And like, oh, I'm going here. Like, all right, cool. Well, slow down. You know what I mean? So, um, but like I said, like it goes back to that where we work. Tickets wasn't really like because tickets always comes down to like it's not black and white. It's all preference. Like if the deputy wants to give it to them, they can. If they don't have to. There's no such thing. And people keep saying we have like what do they say? Like a quota that's actually illegal.
So I was
Uh,
I was always under the impression that if you got pulled over, you had to get a ticket for something.
no, I
And
give him
like that was, or like a letter of warning. Like I was, that's that. I don't know where I got it from, but that was an impression that was put upon me that like I believed that no matter what happened, if you got pulled over, you had to get a letter of warning. You had to get some sort of something because I pulled you over.
no. Well, like I said, every state's different, but like where I
Yeah.
work, in the state that I work in is, so pretty much it just comes down to what you want to do. And like I said, I've been a cop, I've been a deputy for 5 years, and I've only given out 3 tickets. So I have a lot. So like this, yeah, 3 tickets, man, and like all three were pretty well deserved. So, like I said, most people talk themselves into a ticket. I will say that. Um, but those three, yeah, they pretty much talked themselves into it. Like I said, 'cause it all comes back to just being nice and respectful. Like all you had to do is just be nice, not give me a bunch of shit, even though
Hmm.
you're in the wrong. Um, but yeah, kind of kind of go back though into what you were saying about that Marine Corps mentality as far as like people themselves.
Hmm.
One thing I kind of wanted to touch up on that was you had talked about the sergeant major coming and you speaking like, hey, like that's just another person,
Yeah.
and that kind of brought it up to me. It kind of made me realize like I was doing the same thing because like when I first got onto the force, I guess you could say, like the sheriff would come by, right? And he would like, oh, hey, Gilbert, shake my hand. And I was just like, oh, hey, how's it going, sir? Or how's it going, sheriff? And to me, it was just another person.
Yeah.
But everyone else like, oh my God, the sheriff's coming. And it's like, okay, like I like
Yeah.
him. He's really nice. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why are you so worried about him for? He's like the nicest guy in the world. He always says,
Yeah.
kind of like when the SEAL comes around, like the gunny's usually the asshole, and the SEAL's just like, "Oh, how's it going, guys? Like, what are you
Yeah.
guys doing this week?" And like, that's all they're gonna do. They don't give a shit. They're not the ones disciplining you.
Yeah.
Maybe the gunny's the person you want to worry about because he's about to freaking flip your shit upside down
Yeah.
for any reason. But
Hmm.
it's kind of like that. You like the shit. Like it's just another person, and I've always been like that. Especially we have a guy. He was my other FTO, First Force Recon, back in like Somalia and stuff like that, like Black Hawk Down time frame. Oh, he's a badass man, and he was my first FTO, and everyone still was like just scared of him. they're still scared of him. Like they don't, because he just always has like that, just that just that bad resting
That
bitch
blank stare.
face,
Yeah.
and just just staring off into the deep end. You don't know what he's thinking about, and he's just like doesn't talk to no one. If he does not like you, you will know he does not like you. He don't give a shit. He's not here to make you happy. Just like, I don't like you. You know what I mean? And he will speak his mind, just like a Marine, and he just, and like I said, he's a lot worse than me because he just like does not give a shit. Like he's just that guy, and I love him. And when I first got on, when people found out he was my FTO, I was like, oh shit, he's a Marine. Like, yeah, but like he's scary, like watch out, like he's not like nobody here. He won't speak to you. Dude, he's my best friend now. And it's because he told me too, like he had told me, and he's older. He's like he just turned 50, I believe. Yeah. And but he had told me like he's like, when I first met you, like I did not want to like you because you're new. You kind of have to earn like your spot here or whatever. But there's something about you. You just did not give a shit who I was. You just talked to me. And everyone else is like, oh my gosh, Shu, like, yo, yeah, watch out, bro. Like he's scary. Like, don't look his way. And I remember getting in his car for the first time. I sat with him and I was like, so how's it going? He's like, just shut up. Here's what's gonna happen. Like, you're a Marine. I'm a Marine. You already know that. I'm gonna grade you a lot harder. I expect a lot more from you. Do your thing. And I'm like, whatever you need, senior. Like, I got you. And he was like, from the get-go, you're like pretty much being like you're trying to do things yourself that you didn't even know how to do yet.
Yeah.
And he's like, I respect that. Like you acted like a Marine the way I assumed a Marine would act, like being new. You did exactly what I expected you to do, and I respect that. And like, not only that, he's like, you literally just wouldn't stop talking. Like but not as far as like being annoying. You just be like, I guess you're just more real. I always talk about shit. At that time, he was going through a bad time too with his girlfriend, or his his girlfriend at the time, like a bad breakup, and things are pretty serious. And I was like, hey man, like back to the whole Marine Corps thing. Like, I'm here for you. Like, what do you need? Do you need things? Like, and him being like, I'm obviously still new. I'm the boot still. He's just like, no, like you're good. Like you're good.
Yeah.
But even though he told me he was good, I knew he was in some like, having a really rough time. I was still like, hey, like I know you can't get close to me. I know like I'm supposed to be like this boot bitch. I would talk to him just like that. He's just normal. Like I know,
Yeah.
I understand. Like I understand where we're supposed to be in this whole thing, but in the end, like I'm a motherfucking Marine and you're a Marine, and if you need help, like I'm here.
Yeah.
Like I'm not some. At that time I was what 18, 20, 18, 19. Like I'm not some 23-year-old, 22-year-old like trying to like be your friend or whatever, or like trying to like be like fucking around or whatever. But just like, dude, like if you need help, like I'm fucking here for you. Like I said, like I had that help from Thomas just right before this, and he's like, no, I appreciate that. And then, yeah, man, he ended up we ended up getting closer throughout that. And like I said, people would it was funny. I'll be with Thomas on my second phase FTO, and he would walk by the hallways like, oh shit, shoes coming. And he'd be like, oh, what's up, Rios? And give me a fucking hand five, give me like a hug. And they're like, oh, you're cool with Shoe? Like, yeah, like what's wrong with that? Like he's my like he comes over for whiskey sometimes. Like and they're like, what the fuck? Oh, you hang out, but you're new, like you're a boot. And I'm just like, you just won't understand like the relationship. Like you'll never understand the relationship. It's just different. And yeah, man, like I said, I was a fucking boot, and he's just like coming over. Like he met my wife, like met my kid. Oh, not my kid at the time. My kid, I didn't have a kid yet, but he met my wife. He even met my mom. He met my dad, but it's just, yeah, man, they would never understand like the conversations we had. They would never understand those conversations.
Bro, and I'm glad I brought that up, man, because like when I was on recruiting duty, that's like the biggest thing, because everybody wants to be a cop. That's all you ever hear. It's like, what do you want to do? I want to be a cop. I want to be a cop. And it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna go to community college to get a criminal justice degree. Then I'm gonna go to finish my 2 years, get my bachelor's degree. And it's like, and I was always like, bro, just join the freaking Marine Corps, get 4 years of active duty time, go become a cop. It's gonna make a huge difference, because especially like even in Jersey, bro, like every single person, I know so many Marines who are cops. Every town that I've been in, every place that I've been in, I'm surrounded by Marines who are cops. And every time I ask them the same question I asked you, they tell me the same thing. They're like, bro, it's just every precinct has cops, and every precinct has Marines, and we have our own small knit community that is very different than everybody else. And from what I've heard, every time I ask anybody about their police academy, they always tell me that a Marine was like either the squad leader or in charge in some way, shape, or form. It's just natural that I always hear that same thing. And that's another reason, I have many reasons for starting the podcast, but that's another one of them, is hearing people like you, your story, and you telling the story of how, you being a Marine did actually have a huge impact on your training and on your work ethic and on the things that you do. Now, not taking away from your parents and how you grew up, but the institution of the Marine Corps also helped, you become this, deputy that you now are. So what so how do you maintain, the mental toughness side of it? Like, how do you maintain that?
Uh, I guess it all comes back, like I said, back to the Marine Corps. You have to be thick skinned. You have to just be mentally tough to get through what we strive to do, And I guess like going through all the shit you do in the Marines and then coming out and dealing with the stuff you do, like in my career, like because being a deputy, you deal with a lot of any kind of person that passes away, you have to go pick up the body.
Mm,
And any person that car crash or the wreck, doesn't matter. Like the deputy has to pretty much be like, yeah, he's dead. And so a lot of people have a hard time with that, and I'm just over there like I'm fine with it. A lot of stuff that I deal with, like gunshot victims and just kind of any kind of victim is kind of like I'm fine. But I guess explaining like how do I do it? It comes back to just being a Marine, but then also I say the biggest thing is having an outlet. It comes back to that. Like my same lifestyle of being like physically fit and having, like I said, I found what's my outlet, especially with like my friend committed suicide. Like, I knew that bodybuilding was my outlet, and the fact that I continued to still do that throughout my career and my life right now is what keeps me like good, And if I have a bad day at work, like I said, I no longer work the street anymore, but even with what I do right now, it's more mentally tough,
what do you do
and
now?
I can't I can't really go into what I do
Got
because
you. I like that. That's dope.
yeah,
I know somebody who can't tell me what he does. How about that?
yeah, but this, I guess all I can really say is that what I do is just 95% more mentally tough than the
Mm,
street.
mm,
And so that I guess that's been the biggest challenge the past few years I've been doing it. But just having like a good wife to be able to speak to, and having like a
mhm.
good home life, because I
Yeah.
would cops and military people, like they have like that one of the worst home lives you could have, like statistically.
Mhm.
And so having like a good wife to come to pretty much reach out to and kind of like, because my wife's dude, she's fucking hardcore, and I guess that's why I like being with her so much, is because she don't take no shit from me, and I'm the Marine, and she's like,
Bro, my wife's the same way, bro.
and so if I'm having a hard day and I tell her about it, I guess she's like talking to another Marine,
Mhm.
like she I guess she's there to be caring and and have a yeah, she's there to be caring for me and kind of like help me out explain things, but she's also there to like kick me in the ass if I need to. Because
Mhm.
I guess being like, you got to have that comfort, I guess you could say, but then you also need that ass kicking to, because you can't just be dwelling in like your sadness,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you had a bad day, like, okay, you had a bad day, I'm here for you, I'm sorry you had a bad day, and you could be there. But I guess like with me, I understand with me and just being like, there's too much cuddling or like too much of that like protecting
Yeah.
you is not good, because then you stay there. Like, right,
Yeah.
what's going to bring me back up to being where I was running efficiently? And that's my
Mhm.
wife. She's just like, now stop being a bitch and let's go, like,
Yeah.
type of thing. She
And
don't
that's
say those
and
words, but it's kind of
yeah.
like that.
And that's good that you bring that up, man, because that's like the thing that that I agree with is like, all right, bro, like in the world in which we live right now, it's like there's way too much coddling. It's like I can coddle you, but at the same time, like I gotta be like, hey, bro, let's go. Like, all
Yeah.
right, you cried for a minute. We gotta move on from this because you can't just wallow in self pity for the rest of your life. We gotta move on here. We have other things that gotta get done. We have other things that have to happen, and it's good. I guess another thing I kind of wanted to just talk to you about is just do you think, and this is just a really random question, but do you think that a lot of what you've dealt with has helped you become more, like a better husband, a better father, Like, have you ever sat down to think about that? Like, do you think the experiences you've been through have kind of helped you mold you to be a, a better man?
Yes. Um, as far as being a good father, that actually came from my father, to
Mm,
be honest with you. Not so much like what I do. My dad was great, man. He was like hardworking. And my dad had me at 18, my mom was 15. And so like to see how they raise someone with when I was that young, I didn't realize it at the time. But then
hmm.
now that I'm older and I think about where I used to live, and like kind of like the money issues that we did have, and that being so young, I didn't even know we had money issues. But then when I look back, I realized, oh, we were having big money issues. Where we lived, I thought was normal, but it was actually the hood. And I'm like, oh shit, but to me, like being so young, you don't realize any of
Yeah.
that stuff. Then as you get older, you're like, all right, that's like the bad part of town. That's the bad part of town. This is like the shitty houses. And it's like, but you don't realize that, the food that you're eating, you don't realize that. And so like being my mom being 15, she's practically in high school, pretty much put me in her backpack. And if it's just like you have like a teenage mom or teenage parents, but then they weren't like they weren't just like fuck it and just gave up. Like my dad, the guy was always working, but when it came to sports, he always made it like I don't even know when he slept. That's the crazy part. Like he just worked his ass off, but then he also made it a point to spend time with me. Like he was my
Hmm.
best friend. And my mom too. My mom's like super loving. And my dad's kind of like that opposite part of like he's loving too, but he's also like he looks at me wrong way, I'm scared. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And my mom was like, she'd do the spanking, but didn't really help. And then she'd be like, I'm gonna tell your dad. I'm like, shit, don't tell dad.
Yeah.
But it's just that thing, like I think that was what made me such a good father is because I tried to pretty much mimic what he did. I remember asking him like, how did you do it? Because like I'm tired, but he was just over here like if I had like my dad used to go build bridges back in down in LA like when I was younger, and I used to play football. So my football games was like I think it was when I was a freshman or Pop Warner, one of those. They'd be like Thursdays or it's like a Thursday. So he would come down from LA right after work at 5, get here as fast as he could, watch the game, and then go back to finish his workday Friday in LA, and then come back down again Friday. But he made sure to make a point to get there um, for that game on Thursday. And before he built bridges, he used to work at the newspaper, and he would pretty much work at the newspaper and work somewhere else. He worked like 2 or 3 jobs all the time. But if I had practice, he made it a point to be at practice, not just be like,
Hmm.
all right, go to practice, see you later. Like he literally just walk around, no sleep, be there at practice. And then he would work with me after practice because I was always smaller. And then, but I think that, and then the guy like, this the motivational speaking he would tell me just like, hey, I never him telling me, I still remember till this day. I was like 5 and playing football. He was just like, hey, like, not 5. I was like, I just started Pop Warner, so I was like 10 or 11 or like that. But just being smaller, playing tackle football for the first time, I never him telling me like, hey, like, I don't think you're gonna fucking grow anymore. Like, you're pretty much done. I can already see it, and I'm just like, so you're smaller, everybody else out here, the smallest guy on the team, but just deal with it. Like, we just have to work harder. Like, it should never be an excuse. Your height or your size should never be an excuse ever in your life. And he made that a
Yeah.
point. Like, it will never fucking be. If I ever see that it's a problem or an issue or excuse to you, we're gonna have a problem. But he would like, I just remember he just sit there like kneeling down, looking at me like, and I was crying because I was like, no, like there's bigger than me, and he's like stop crying, like you'll be fine. He's
Yeah.
like, make it a point to be better than everybody else. And I remember that year in Pop Warner, I got MVP for the defensive side, and then I ended up going to All Stars, getting picked for All Stars as well. And ever since then, I just always just thrived in whatever I chose to do. And so I guess that was just like a big thing. He's been a big part of like how I was, I guess, mentally. I guess like the mentality of things. He's always
Yeah.
been a big part of there. And I try to transfer that over to my son. So like with the business and everything like that, like this last prep when I was in prep, I made it a point to spend time with my son. I would do all my cardio when he was asleep. So I got to a point where I was doing an hour and a half of cardio a day. But I make sure I wake up before everyone else in the house. So even before my wife, wake up, do my cardio, and then do my regular day, work day, and whatnot. Go to the gym. But then when it was time to spend time with him after work or after the gym, I spend time with him, and then I do put him to sleep, and then do my cardio. And it's a lot more. It's not as a more optimal schedule, but I just thought of my dad and like, what would he do? and that's what he would do. Like I'm not a pro bodybuilder. I'm not striving for a pro card, but we could still look good. It's just gonna suck a lot more knowing that you want to put more time with your kid and also do this. Like I didn't want to sacrifice the time with him, so I was like, fuck it, we'll just stay up a lot. We'll just stay up a lot later, knock this cardio out. You're gonna be more tired, but I just knew it was temporary, right? So it was gonna be a 4-month prep. Like we could just do it. Just gotta just deal with it. And then when my wife would come home,
so you just made your son priority number one.
yeah,
and you worked your schedule around your son
yeah,
instead of it the opposite way around.
yeah. I used to do cardio sometimes at 10, 11 o'clock at night and do my posing. Then I had to be up again like at 5 a.m. And then I'm already on low calories already, so I'm already kind of tired. And then I would like to get me from not sitting down because I would fall asleep. I would just be like, all right, let's go for a walk. Then I'd take him for a walk to the park. And pretty much keep that same kind of schedule going every single day. But I don't know, man. Just to me, like I said, like I had a good. That's why I always tell people, like people with like a good father, everyone needs a good father, you know. And I guess like me having a good father kind of showed me the way of like this is how you need to be, because he always told me like you're my priority. So I try to make my son a priority. So like even with the podcast, like he's asleep right now, so I won't. And the same thing though, man. It's just like if I have a goal, I'm gonna make sure that my goals are surrounded through him. Because like I don't care if it was work, I don't care if it's my business. Like he will come first, and I'll just stop whatever if it has to come down to it. Even with prep, I was like, if I had to quit prep just because of it was messing too much with his time. That's the one thing my wife told me too. She's like, hey, I like, because she's prepped before, and she's like, if things start changing and you start losing time with your son, like I'm gonna have a problem. And I was like, don't worry about it. Like I'll make sure to knock things out
Yeah.
where I need to. But yeah. And like I said, being a good husband and being a good father, and like I just try to make it a point so to be as good as I can for both of them and give them my time, you know. And then as far as balance, there really is no balance. It's just like fucking no sleep. So you're gonna lose sleep. You know what I mean? So I sleep a lot less now. I probably sleep like 5 hours a day, and try to like incorporate everything in my day. But yeah, man, that's probably the biggest thing is just sleep now. I thought people keep thinking like, well, you have a business now, like it's probably fun and whatnot. And it really is fun because I actually enjoy what I do. That's what makes it more fun. But like you definitely lose sleep because you're everything. As far as being a good husband, like that just comes down, I guess. I don't know. I just want to be great. My biggest thing, I said, I do everything. I try to do the best I can. And when I do things with her, it's mostly just like, it comes back down to respect, but then also comes down to just like, I want her to see me when she sees me or she's talking to her friends. Cause we've been a lot of places together. Like, you know, you probably been the same way as well with you, where like you're out and like the wife's talking shit about the husband, you know, like with like the wives and stuff. And like, oh my God, like John over here, he does this, or he plays his video games, or he always with the guys, or this and that. And I always made a point that when my wife's talking with people, she's always talking about like, great. You know what I mean? Like he does this for me, he does that for me. So I always try to do things like that to make sure that when she just knows that like, yeah, my husband is always great. Like he's not over here. I'd rather hang out with my wife than hang out with the boys. You know what I mean? My wife's cool. And the boys love hanging out with my wife. So we'd be like, if we had to go, I first got in my career, I'd be like, oh, can my wife come? And they actually liked her. Like, oh yeah, she's like one of the bros. You know, she's one of the boys. That's how she was raising. She's not like a girly girl. So like it's always been, I don't know, she's always been really well. So we work well together, we communicate well together, like we're a good team. So but
No doubt, man. So one of my last questions really was just your business. How do you what do you how do you work with your clients? What do you do for your clients? What is your business, you know, I guess just kind of like the model, and you know what is, you know, your job.
so everything right now is all online. It's all pretty much fitness programs all through online. So nothing's in person, but it's all one-on-one custom plans to the person. They can people usually have either nutrition or cardio programs with me, or they have nutrition training and cardio that's all monitored by me. But they usually have a goal. Majority of my clients are their goals like mostly fat loss, and I do have like athletes who are competing in shows. So like right now, I have 2 girls competing next Saturday for a show that are sponsored by me. Then I have some other people who's going to compete later on. I have some people going to compete next year as well. So it's either going to be like a regular lifestyle client or like a competitive nature client. But yeah, pretty much just monitor their cardio, their nutrition, and their training. Most of my specialty is going to be more focused on nutrition because I didn't really want to go more into detail as far as training wise unless I have to with my athletes. But as far as the lifestyle client, dude, training really comes down to most people are not. I feel like more advanced techniques like that comes down to more of people who need to get that extra level. So like you're already an advanced person in the gym and you just need that much more coaching to be there. But for most people, they could literally do a basic workout. It just comes down to intensity. And they don't understand that. They think they're working out hard, but in reality, they're not. And it's like the failure of the set and having a good structured program. So if you just give someone a good structured program with the amount of volume that they need and as basic as possible, because like I said, most people are coming from, like you said, you have no plan. They're not really following anything. So they're kind of changing their whole lifestyle. So why would you give them some crazy plan, the training plan that's just gonna like they could like either overwork themselves or they're not even really familiar with it. So give them something basic, some basic workouts, but it's gonna come down to intensity. Because even my plan, even though I would say like I've been working out for over 15 years now and been doing this for over 15 years, but even when I go to the gym and I approach my gym session for like the bodybuilding sense too, dude, for the most part, I'm usually just doing a basic workout. Like people are like, oh, what do you do for legs? Or what do you do for shoulders? Like this, and this. That's all you do? Like, yeah. I'm still making progress in it. I'm still going up in weight. So why would I change it? You know what I mean? I only incorporate advanced techniques if I need it. That's usually like once, then it resets things, and I just go back to doing basics. Like mastering the basics of what I pride myself on. So most of my stuff just comes down to nutrition. That's going to be the biggest part. Is just like finding the person, kind of like to get them to where I'm at, and they have to understand that it's more long term. And cause I don't do none of this like short term stuff. Like I'm going to change your life in 3 months, or 4 months. Like I tell them, like we're gonna make some progress, and I do offer 4-month plans, but I let them know, like, hey, we're gonna make some progress, we're gonna do good, but just understand we're not gonna be like your friend who hired Coach so and so, and they're gonna lose 80, 100 pounds in 3-4 months and look great. But yeah, that's great, but they're also gonna rebound really bad, and then go back to where they were. Like you said, it's that circle of life where they keep yo-yo dieting and rebounding and getting,
Yeah.
and it just gets worse and worse. My plan is to kind of teach you, or pretty much teach you, or find a solution for you that's going to work out for you long term. And like I said, that takes a while. And I kind of like help people understand that carbs aren't bad. Certain foods aren't, like most food is not bad. I kind of incorporate in their, ask them what they like, and I give them a food plan. They're like, oh, I can eat this. Like, yeah, eat it. Watch, you'll be fine. And then they start eating it. So it's more like a mental thing, like kind of helping them mentally. Like, I get to eat this, I get to eat that, and I'm still making progress. Like, great. And then that comes, and the next thing is just like approach, like what can you adopt as far as nutrition wise that you could adhere to long term. So whether that means like a low carb or high carb or high fat, low fat, different foods, like I said, like my structure where you can have something every single day. Do you want to track your food? I'll teach you how to track this. Do you want to just be more consistent? Do you want to have like a semi-consistent plan where you're consistent throughout the week and on the weekends you track your food? Like it's all going to come down to, are certain foods in your diet if you are on a consistent plan? What foods do you like that you could eat consistently, kind of like me, and find out what you can eat consistently for the rest of your life, and then enjoy the other things, the 20%, that 80-20 rule. But like I said, you can only pick one approach. You have to work on it, and then from there you have to realize, all right, this is not working out for me, let's try something else. And that comes down to, I'm really big on communication with my clients. I don't just give you a plan like, all right, see you next week. Like, you could text me, you could set up a call with me, but the biggest thing is kind of figuring out what's going to work for you. And the first plan I give you, or the first couple of weeks or first couple of months, might not even work. Or for the most part, whatever you do consistently is going to work, but you might not even enjoy it. So it's like, you got to communicate with me. All right, we're making progress, but I'm not really enjoying this. I'm not really enjoying this meal. I'm not really enjoying this approach. Like, what can we do? Cool. Cause I have a million things in my toolbox. Let's bring one out and try it again for another few weeks or a few months. You know what I mean? But it all takes time. You can't find the perfect solution to your problem in in a few months. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this 15 years, and I finally realized what I liked several years ago. Like, this is actually what I do. Like, cause I tried a lot of things obviously throughout that 15 years, but every time I come back to my first what I used to eat when I first started. The workout split, I come back to what I used to work out when I was 17, the same kind of split. Other than the Marine Corps split that I do now, which is back in 2011, 2010, you know? So it's like I just keep going back into, I try something else and I keep coming back to it. And that just means that, hey, I like this. But I said that takes years and years. So I'm just like a toolbox and I'm trying to give you advice on like what do you need to do. So I offer monthly plans, 4-month plans, 8-month plans. If you want to compete, I help you compete for shows. I competed several athletes. Most of my athletes I prep for shows will probably be bikini girls. No bodybuilders yet. I do have one guy who's going to compete as a bodybuilder next year, hopefully. I have yet to have a bodybuilder complete a prep with me. They just end up just getting scared and stop doing it. Once they lose weight or body fat, they just get all. Bodybuilding is hard, man. It's really difficult. Girls seem to have no problem cutting weight or cutting for shows,
bro.
guys.
I don't know. Maybe I'll be the next one, bro. Because I've always wanted to cut. I just don't know how to do this shit, man. Like I wanna, like, because even, and here's my thing, right? So people say you gotta get, if you want to cut, you gotta get rid of drinking alcohol. So I don't know what your take is on that, bro. I stopped drinking for an entire month and nothing changed. My stomach was still the same way. I don't know if it's my genetics, but no one in my entire family has a 6-pack. So I'm just led to believe I could never have one. Like I don't know, man. Like I just want, that's the only thing I want in this life is to have a fucking, like for instance, myself, like finally I'm actually like, I have a little bit definition in my chest. Finally, like I'm finally getting there, but like, I want to have like, I don't want to be a huge dude, but like, I want to be a dude who like, you look at him like, oh, okay, that motherfucker works out. Like I don't want to be, the guy who's walking around like this, but at the same time, it's like, I just want to fucking look good. You mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. But so where do we find you? What's your Instagram, your website? Where can people find you, and how can they reach out to you?
Yes, my Instagram is going to be Revain Training. It's going to be REVEIN Training. And then my website's actually revaintraining.com. Facebook's Revain Training. Yeah, you can find me there. You go to my Instagram. You could also go to my shop. I have a shop on my Instagram page where you could go get shirts, or you could go get coaching plans from there, and I'll send you directly to the website or wherever it needs to be to get whatever you need. I did just get some new inventory of my first green shirts. They're military green with like a white logo and then a saying on the back. But yeah, those are the places you can find me right there.
No doubt,
and then
man.
Also my podcast I just started, like I said, it's called Effective Habits. You go to, it's finally on Apple. Then it's on Spotify and it's on Anchor as well.
Yeah, go listen to that. Definitely do it. I listened to the first episode. I've got halfway through the second episode, but I ended up finishing my workout. But I'm gonna continue on with that one, man. But hey, man, I just want to thank you so much for coming out, Coach Gil. I really appreciate you. And just we'll definitely do this again. And I just thank you for everything that you've talked about and the advice and just your story and everything. So just thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
All right, brother.